When my girlfriend walked into our apartment that Tuesday evening, I had no idea how quickly my life was about to fracture. The smell of simmering pasta sauce filled the kitchen, rich and comforting. As I stood over the stove, absent-mindedly stirring, I had been thinking about our plans for the weekend. Maybe a movie, maybe visiting her parents. And for a moment, everything in my world had felt steady, ordinary, even safe. But when she entered, I noticed immediately that something was different. Her movements were hesitant, almost jittery, and she carried herself with a nervous energy I couldn't place. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and keep watching, because the best part's coming up next. The faint chemical tang of antiseptic clung to her skin, mingling with an inky note that reminded me of tattoo parlors I had walked past but never entered. She fiddled with the strap of her purse like a guilty child, her eyes skittering around the apartment as though they couldn't bear to land on me. Finally, she cleared her throat, the sound sharp in the quiet room. I have something to show you, she said, her voice quivering at the edges. She turned, lifted her shirt just high enough to reveal the smooth curve of her shoulder blade. And there it was. Fresh ink, the skin still red and tender around it. 2 intertwined letters, delicate and permanent. DM. For one dizzy second, I thought they were mine, my name, my initials. My heart leapt hopefully, but the hope died just as quickly. Something in the way she shifted, something in the way her shoulders tensed, told me I was wrong. Is that? I started, but the words caught in my throat. My chest tightened as I forced myself to finish. Is that for me? Her face flushed crimson. She bit her lip, then shook her head. And with a voice so small, I almost didn't hear it, she said, It's for David. David Martinez. The man who had cheated on her more times than she could count. The man whose betrayal had shattered her. The man she had sworn she despised. I remembered those nights she cried into my chest, whispering that she never wanted to hear his name again. I remembered comforting her, holding her, reminding her she was worth more. And yet, here she was, marking her body with his initials as though he were some great love story worth immortalizing. She rushed to explain, words tumbling over themselves. It wasn't about wanting him back, she said. It was about closure, about honoring an important chapter of her life. Closure? By tattooing herself with the initials of a man who treated her like garbage? My hand shook, the wooden spoon dripping marinara onto the tile, but I barely noticed. I was too busy trying to process the betrayal. When I asked why she hadn't talked to me before doing something so permanent, her defenses shot up. Her chin tilted, her eyes narrowed. It's my body, my choice, she said sharply. I don't need anyone's permission. It's not about permission, I tried to explain. My voice was calm, though my insides churned. It's about respect, about us, about our future. But she wasn't listening. Instead, she twisted my words into control, accused me of being possessive. The more I tried to make her understand, the more defiant she became. Until finally she stood tall, hands on her hips, and spat the words like a challenge. It's my life. I'll do whatever I want with my body. I looked at her for a long, hollow moment, everything inside me breaking apart. Then I nodded. You're right, I said quietly. It is your life. The silence that followed was thick. She blinked at me, clearly caught off guard. expecting rage, maybe even a fight. Instead, I set down the spoon, turned off the stove, grabbed my keys, and walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't shout. I just left. I drove to my friend Jake's apartment. Jake had never been fond of her, though out of respect, he had never said much. When I told him what happened, he shook his head with a grim sort of, "I told you so," written on his face. He offered me his couch, no questions asked. That night, lying awake on the sagging cushions, I realized something. If she could so easily dismiss my feelings for the sake of glorifying her past, then I could just as easily choose my future without her. The next morning, while she was at work, I went back to our apartment. I packed what mattered most, clothes, personal documents, my laptop, and moved everything to Jake's. Then I sat at the table we used to eat dinner at and wrote her a letter. I told her she was right. It was her life, her body, her choice. But I had the same freedom, and I was choosing a life without someone who disrespected me so deeply. But leaving quietly wasn't enough. My girlfriend was obsessed with appearances, with social media perfection. Her Instagram was a shrine to us. Filtered couple photos, cutesy captions, curated happiness. So I removed myself from that narrative. I unfollowed her, deleted every photo, and changed my relationship status to single. I didn't post anything bitter or vindictive. I simply erased the version of me she wanted to display and replaced it with reality. When she came home and found my letter, her call came instantly. Her voice cracked with tears, asking why I was being so dramatic over a tattoo. I reminded her of her own words. Her life. Her body. This was mine. She begged me to return, but I told her I needed space to decide whether I could stay with someone who chose to carry her ex on her skin. Like what you see? Click like, hit subscribe, and stay tuned. Let's keep going. A week later, her tears dried up and her anger took their place. She screamed about humiliation, about mutual friends asking questions after seeing my profile. I calmly told her I hadn't humiliated her. I had just told the truth. If she felt shame, it wasn't from me. It was her conscience. Weeks passed. She tried going through Jake, my sister, mutual friends, spinning stories about how unreasonable I was, how I'd abandoned her over a tiny tattoo. But everyone close to us knew better. They saw it wasn't about ink. It was about betrayal, about a line she had chosen to cross. While she unraveled, I rebuilt. I found a new apartment, one that felt like mine, not ours. I hit the gym again, reconnected with old friends, rediscovered parts of myself I had set aside for her. For the first time in years, I was breathing freely. 3 weeks after leaving, she showed up at my new place. Her eyes were swollen, her face pale. She said she had made a mistake, that she'd remove the tattoo if it meant saving us. I let her in, not to reconcile, but to give her the dignity of hearing me out face to face. I told her the tattoo wasn't the core issue. The real wound was her thought process, her dismissal of me, and the fact that only consequences, not love, made her reconsider. That's when she admitted the truth. She hadn't gotten the tattoo out of nowhere. She had run into David at a coffee shop, and nostalgia had taken over. It wasn't closure. It was longing. My stomach turned cold. This wasn't just a lapse in judgment. It was an open door to a man she once swore she hated. I told her I appreciated her honesty, but it only proved what I already knew. Leaving was the right decision. Months later, the full picture came into focus. Through friends, I learned she had been in contact with David regularly. Lunches, texts, even asking about his relationship status. The tattoo wasn't impulsive. It was the climax of an emotional affair. Every red flag I had ignored, her secretive phone habits, her sudden nostalgia for old hobbies, her reluctance to talk about our future, all of it made sense. She reached out again and again, sending me photos from tattoo removal consultations, begging for another chance. But I never responded. I had moved on. That ink she thought would honor her past had become the scar that destroyed her present. 6 months later, I ran into her at a grocery store. The tattoo was faded, scarred from removal. She looked smaller somehow, tired, hollowed by regret. She asked if we could grab coffee, try again. I told her I was glad she was in therapy, glad she was healing. But no. That chapter was closed. Walking away, I felt grief for the years I had lost, but also profound relief. I had chosen myself, my dignity, my future. Looking back, I realized the greatest revenge wasn't anger, wasn't lashing out. It was walking away with my head held high. She was right. It was her body, her choice. But it was my life, my choice too. And I chose not to be second place to a ghost from her past. Today, I'm with someone who understands what commitment means. As for her, I hear she still struggles with trust, still carries regret. The tattoo may fade, but its scar remains, a permanent reminder of the man who respected himself enough to leave. Honestly, I think this story says everything about respect in relationships. A tattoo might just be ink to some people, but it's the meaning behind it that matters. If you're honoring someone who betrayed you while being with someone new, that's not closure. It's disrespect. And when your partner dismisses your feelings in the name of autonomy, it really shows where their priorities are. At the end of the day, love is a choice, and so is respect. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more stories like this, and drop your thoughts in the comments below.